Keeping up with kids is an endless task. They seem to have all the energy in the world all of the time. So, how can we as adults have any sort of a hope of keeping up? Many of us have less energy, more aches and pains, and more excuses than we used to. The reality is that we have zero chance of keeping up if we don't do something today, and the next day, and the next day. If what we've been doing up to this point hasn't worked, you're going to need to do something different. Even if you've been going to the gym or doing yoga for 20 years doesn't mean you're going to be ache-free or be able to keep up with your kids. So what's the answer? First, let me explain why we get aches and pains and how energy works in the body. Aches and pains are something I deal with every day. Not for myself, at least not anymore, but for other people. My bodywork practice has allowed me to find the real reason why we experience aches and pains. What I do is find and unwind adhesions in the soft tissue. I can feel exactly where they are, and I feel them release. There is never just one adhesion. Whenever there is pain, there are many adhesions that run through the tissue. What I noticed from working with hundreds, if not thousands, of clients over the years is that they follow patterns throughout the body. You may have heard of the anatomy trains, a concept developed by Tom Myers. This concept is basically that there are lines of muscles that functionally connect through the body via the fascia, or connective tissue. Sprinters and weightlifters may have heard of the posterior chain, a line of soft tissue that runs from the underside of the foot up the back of the body to the head. This is one of these anatomy train lines. There are dozens of them that run through the body, along the front, back, sides, and in twisting patterns around the body, as well as along the arms. When there are adhesions or in one or many of these chains, the tissue doesn't glide or slide like it's meant to. It creates altered movement patterns, restricted range of motion, and pain. Sometimes the adhesions are at the point of the pain, but often they're not. By being able to feel these adhesions, I have become remarkably effective at helping people get out of pain and start to move more effectively. Bodywork is ideally the first step in the journey to keeping up with your kids. If you've ever watched your kids play, you know that they bounce far better than most adults, especially those more athletic kids. Movement is essential for fascial conditioning for kids and adults alike, and kids tend to have less stuff, those adhesions I was talking about, so playing and moving all day is their natural states. For us as adults, we need to choose to move. Many of us are bound to a desk for hours of the day. Whether we exercise or not, for some depends on how much energy we have. The reality is that movement, although it may seem daunting at first, literally creates energy in the body. If you're interested, I wrote a book on exactly that, how movement influences our energy. You see, these anatomy train lines I mentioned before follow very closely the meridians of the Chinese medicine system. When we move, we push energy through these channels. Done right, movement actually increases the flow of energy through the body. Our energy is so much more complex than having high energy or low energy. Energy can have so many different qualities to it. It can influence our mood, our emotions, the health of our organs, and so much more. By conditioning our fascia, we also condition our emotional state, our overall health, and so much more. The trick is to do it right. Not all movement will help you keep up with your kids. In fact, some movement will make it harder to keep up with them. It can create adhesions in the soft tissue, and it can create aches and pains in the joints. You see, conditioning the fascia takes time. If you jump into an exercise before your body is ready, it won't like it. Your nervous system will panic and create tightness in the tissue to protect itself. You won't do that motion again if it hurts, will you? It takes years, not weeks or months, to develop the resilience to keep up with the kids. Think about gymnasts and martial artists. They start young, so they're a blank canvas. They have minimal adhesions, injuries, or blockages in their fascial tissue. Then they train for decades to be able to perform the way they do. I'm not saying that we need to perform the way these athletes do, but just realize that this fascial remodeling game takes a long time. We as adults have first to overcome a lifetime of adhesions or otherwise run the gauntlet of re-injury, and then, through training, slowly condition our joints so that they build a tolerance to the forces that life throws at us. Consider this journey as more of a marathon than a sprint, and wherever you are right now is the perfect time to start. The reality is that if you start now, you're not just doing something for yourself, but you're also doing it for your kids. Not only will you be able to roll around with them on the floor, run and play with them, or do handstands with them, and have the energy to do it, but you'll also inspire them to take their own health into their hands. You are their greatest role model. Be the change. Get started today. To make it even easier, use the coupon code NURTUREME when you book online at rmphealth.com/bookings and receive $20 towards your first session with me. I look forward to seeing you very soon.